What's up, guys? Welcome to Far From Blake, and today we are talking about Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Let's go! I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I absolutely love this movie. I am a die-hard horror slasher fan. I love my Michael Myers, I love my Jason, I love my Ghostface, my Chucky, the whole nine, right? So, when it comes to horror, slashers is my top tier subgenre. That's what this channel is going to be predominantly about, horror slashers and superheroes. So, what did I think about Thanksgiving? It was perfect for me, in the sense that it brings in a new slasher that is not the OG icons. That, for me, it is hard to like a new slasher nowadays that isn't from the 1980s, 1990s. I love that era of horror the most, but for when it comes to a modern slasher, it doesn't get much better than this. So like I said, it's hard for me almost to like a modern slasher in 2023, and I think it is for a lot of people. That's why it's hard to come up with a new icon like a Michael, Jason, a Freddy, and all those guys. That's why they keep remaking them. That's why we just had the new David Gordon Green Michael Myers Halloween trilogy. That's why Scream has made a comeback. That's why we're all hoping and praying that Freddy and Jason come back. It is hard to have some new icons. And, Art the Clown with Terrifier, he looks like he's next up. But it's hard to get back to those 80s and 90s roots. But Thanksgiving, I think, has the potential to set up a new and interesting franchise. This movie, what makes it cool is that it is a holiday movie, just like Halloween. What makes Halloween such a staple, other than it just being amazing, is that it's something you can always go back to every October on Halloween, and that's like the first initial grab at it. We don't really have too many Thanksgiving horror movies, at least to my knowledge. Thanksgiving is the first one that I have seen. And what makes it cool, it is called Thanksgiving. So we have an iconic horror slasher in Halloween already. Now we have one called Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving. And with that said, if the movie delivers to any degree, which for me it did, that's all it needed to be a high rewatch value every November for the Thanksgiving season. This movie was a whodunit slasher film. It is very Scream-esque. It kind of has some callbacks to I Know What You Did Last Summer, in the sense that in the movie there's a parade scene just like I Know What You Did Last Summer did, and you don't know if the killer's out there looking at you or not. I'm not going to go into big heavy spoilers with the reveal, but that's the essence of this movie. So I just had a lot of fun with the concept. If you're worried about me spoiling something for you, go watch the movie, come back, then watch this video. I'm not going to give away the big reveal just in case people decide to watch this. But with that said, I will go into the plot a little bit. So basically, the plot and premise of this movie is that it starts off with a bunch of people trying to get Black Friday deals at this new supermarket, and basically a riot and everything breaks loose, and lots of people die. It is so over the top, it is so surreal, and what makes it really cool is that, not that it's cool, but makes it surreal watching it, is that this has actually happened before, where people have gone to these Black Fridays and lose their minds and trample and run all over top of each other, and people have died, and it's so insane. So watching this, like, in a movie format, it makes you, like, really go back and go, this is so ridiculous that people are this crazy over getting $100 off whatever they're trying to get for Christmas. So basically, that sets up a premise of a lot of people were pissed about what happened, and it creates a possible revenge story to where our new killer is wearing a John Carver Thanksgiving mask. It is all premised around Thanksgiving, and it is all just a modernized slasher. I don't feel like going beat by beat with this entire plot. I'm just going to say that I had fun with the movie. The kills were brutal, but fun in a way to where it wasn't so grotesque to where you're like, okay, this is like too much. They did it in a really fun and almost B-movie-esque way, but it had good tension to what it wasn't like a full-out horror comedy, but the kills were so overblown where it almost is laughable. It's kind of like I said, the movie gives a Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer feel, but it has a Terrifier 2-esque gore effect when it comes to it. Even though it's a typical slasher, it's not like Terrifier, but the kills are definitely inventive, creative, unique, and really catch you off guard. I liked all the characters in the movie too. I usually struggle nowadays, it seems, to really get into the characters of some of these modern slashers the way you do in the 80s and 90s. Sometimes the dialogue and the things that they come up with are kind of corny. But I felt like, not that it didn't have corny stuff, but the tone and the vibe and the characters and what they are, you find a way to have fun with these guys. Now, the big grab for some people might be Addison Rae, the former famous TikToker who is now in a big-time horror film. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not big on trailers, so I didn't really watch much. I heard there was a Thanksgiving slasher film. That's almost good enough to me on its own. And then I saw Addison Rae, and I'm like, oh, this could be kind of cool. Let's see what she's working with. And honestly, so Addison was good, but she wasn't the lead character. She's not the lead star. I have really nothing negative to say about her performance. There's nothing wow factor like, oh wow, she was amazing. But there was nothing negative. She was just a supporting character with a famous background in her personality in her social media platform that kind of, I'm hoping, draws an audience to this movie, because I think this movie definitely deserves some recognition, and hopefully people go out and see it, because I want to see sequels to this. So yeah, not a bad first performance for her. This wasn't her first movie. She was in He's All That. Didn't really care for that movie at all. Liked this movie a lot. So good for her. You know, this is one of the better slasher movies in the modern era, I would say, in the last 10 years or so, 5-10 years, whatever you want to call it. At least new ones that aren't a old property like Halloween, Scream, whatever. Out of new slashers, this is definitely going to be up there, and because it's a holiday themed slasher, I think it's one that people will revisit. Of course, too, it was really cool to see Patrick Dempsey, who was in Scream 3 as well. Like I said, this movie had a Scream feel, and you happen to have someone who was in one of the Scream movies playing a similar type character. He was a detective in Scream 3, and here I believe his label was the sheriff, if I'm not mistaken, and he was solid in this role. The kills were inventive, they were creative, they were unique. Some of the best kills I've seen in a long time that were also fun. It was on my brand for what I want to see in a creative, over-the-top, gory mess horror slasher. With all that said, though, it still had tremendous tension. There wasn't like, it was just like, get to the kills, and it was just a gore fest, and it was like, there was no build-up. There was tremendous build-up. I think the John Carver slasher has tremendous potential to be an icon. I'm not going to say it yet. I also need to rewatch this movie to really determine that more, which I do think this movie has high rewatch value, so that's another plus for it. But with all that said, like I said, the tension was built up so good, and I was so invested in the story and the characters to where I genuinely liked them so much that I got lost in the sauce, and they genuinely got me with some pretty bad jump scares to where I literally jumped out of my seat a couple times. So if a movie can do that on top of it, which usually doesn't happen, a new horror movie, slasher movie, maybe it gets me one time, because I watch too much of this stuff now to where it's kind of hard to get me. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just in the movie theater. Sometimes it's based off mood, and sometimes it's just, there's little X factors that you can't control. I want to say that honestly, I had about 5 jump scares that I literally jumped. So that was really fun and made me laugh at myself multiple times. I haven't had that feeling in a long time. Made me feel like I was like 10 years old again, watching Halloween, whatever sequel you want to name, any Friday the 13th movie, as an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever. for the first time. So that was really cool that I got that feeling multiple times throughout this movie, on top of the fact of liking the kills, liking the story, thinking some of the characters were really funny and unique and interesting. Lastly, like I said, I mentioned Asa Ray, I mentioned Patrick Dempsey because there's some of the big names. I think the final girl in this movie was solid too. She wasn't amazing. She wasn't bad though. She was good. She played her part for the movie. I think she was a solid addition to it. I think all the supporting cast of friends and characters all did their part. Like I said, it was a good movie. So yeah, I give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 on my rating scale. I was so close to giving it 5 stars. The only negative I can really say about it, and it's not a full negative, it's just something personal for me, is that I did kind of discover the killer reveal pretty easily, and that's not something I'm usually saying. I don't know if it's because I'm just so into the Scream movies and all these other movies that I'm starting to maybe become a little too aware of these things, but I felt like the killer reveal was kind of predictable. Granted, I will say throughout the middle of the movie, I still was like, oh, it could be a couple options. So they do give a bunch of red herrings to where it is good, and I could see it surprises some people. I'm just disappointed for myself that I kind of wish that I dumbed myself down a little bit more and didn't figure it out. Because it always does pack more of a punch when you go, wow, I didn't see that coming. But they do little things leading up to the reveal that it just became a little too obvious for me. And honestly, there was even certain points in the movie where I was like, I remember certain scenes that played out where I'm like, yeah, it's probably that person. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Leave a comment down below. What did you think about Thanksgiving? Is this going to be a November Turkey Day Thanksgiving tradition for you? Or is this a one and done? Or maybe I'll check it out one other time. Leave a comment down below. What did you think? What did you think about the kills? Leave a comment down below your favorite kill of the movie. Would love to talk about that. There's a lot of them. So much so, and that's why I say it's like Scream in the story, but it is not like Scream in the kills. It's not just a basic stab and run away. They come up with really creative stuff with a lot of tension for a lot of them too. It wasn't just a quick one and done. Sometimes he would play with his victim a little bit before he finished them off. So it was cool. It was definitely refreshing, and honestly, it's one of my favorite movies of 2023. It's easily in my top 10, and I'm pretty sure it's kind of easily in my top 5 as of right now, with still a couple months left and still some movies I have to check out that I haven't seen yet. But with that said, if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Subscribe!